Good day, everyone. Welcome to our English Literature video report. So, for today's topics are the drama, poetry, aftermath of war, Alfred Edward Husman, and When I Was 1 and 20. So, first, let us have the drama. Drama is specific mode of fiction represented in a performance. It could be in a play, an opera, a mime, ballet, or etc. that can be performed in a theater or on radio or television. So, the term drama comes from the Greek word dreo, meaning to do or to act. And then let's have its elements of drama. First, we have the role in characters. So it is the identification and portrayal of a person's values, attitudes, intentions, and actions as imagined relationships or the situations and ideas in a dramatic action or role. So the characters must be emphasized. What kind of character are you? Or if you are given the role of Cinderella, then act like Cinderella. Or you can be dressed like Cinderella, so that you can keep the interest of your audience. Okay? And the next is the relationship. It is connected to roles and characters. Why? Because the connection it is the connection and interactions between people that affect in dramatic actions. And then third is the situation. The situation is the setting and circumstances of the drama. It is the who you are or what the characters are being involved in the situation. What is the situation all about and where the situation takes place. Okay? And then the voice. It is used to emphasize an expressive tone or to portray the roles and situations and the tension. So if the characters that you are portraying is sad, then you have to control your voice and make it sounds like sad. If you are crying, then your voice must be crying or something sobbing. That's it. And next to voice is the movement. Why is it important? It is very important because that is your facial expression. That is your posture or that will gives highlight to your character. So to let your audience know who are you in the play. So it also gives you the highlight of what kind of character you are portraying or you are acting. Okay? And next to movement is the language and text. So it is the ideas and dramatic meaning or the choice of linguistic expressions used to create a dramatic actions. So in Filipino drama, the language being used are usually multi-language. It also depends to the characters and the scenario. For example, let's state for an example, if you're portraying as a rich and spoiled brat, then usually the character is using English. And if the situation given to you is in a romantic scene, then it's time for you to switch into a figurative language. And usually, the ordinary characters use Tagalog. Okay? That's the function of language and text. And the next is the mood and atmosphere. Um, Atmosphere and the mood are the feeling or the tone of both physical space and the dramatic action, so which emerge from the performance. What is the mood of the character or the internal feelings and emotions of the actors? So usually it is the actors if the actor's mood is very sad, then it followed by a matching with sudden raindrops. That's the mood and character. And last, we have the audience and dramatic tension. So audience and dramatic tension, your audience and your the age of your audience must matches the genres of your drama and also the dramatic tension. Why? Because there should be a warning if you are going to have a breaking or heartbreaking plots, because there are some audiences that they have a very low uh, of pain tolerance. Like for example, they easily catch the emotions and then it can cause a heart attack. Okay, and then earlier was the the elements of the dramas, and now let's have the different genres. I'm also listing these common genres. So in my research, we have these four basic genres. We have the tragedy, the comedy, and the tragic comedy, and last, the melodrama. So comedy is a type of drama or other art form, the chief object of which, according to modern notions, is to amuse. So, comedy is a type of drama or other art, which its purpose is to give us entertainment or to make us laugh. Okay, so it is very common to which it is usually show in um, in theaters to give amusement to the audience. And then the next is the tragedy. It is the opposite of the comedy. So it's a play that deals with tragic events and having an unhappy ending. So do you love tragedy? Of course not. So especially it is an unhappy ending, especially one concerning the downfall of the main character. So when we hear about tragedy, first come up with our mind is the Romeo and Juliet. So look at this picture here, and then the Titanic, right? So if you watch that two dramas, this is by William Shakespeare. If you had watched that drama, you know how painful it was. Okay, it will made you burst into tears. That's comedy. And now let's have the tragic comedy. It's a literary genre that blends aspects of both tragic and comic forms. So it is said to be the most often seen in dramatic literature. So the term can describe either a tragic play which contains enough comic elements to, to lighten the overall mood. So it is a serious play with a happy and laugh trip ending. So I'm not familiar with the Merchant of Venice, but so I made a research, and what makes it tragedy is that because of its central conflict. So um it finds resolution before the real harm comes after anyone, and the drama features lovers who initially kept apart by circumstances and struggles, and also their family interference. So it was a happy ending for everyone except for Shylock, whose character became the villain and became vengeful. So with his cruelty, he suffers too much pain, and because he was trapped by prejudice and driven to revenge by the treatment that he have received from his past and the insults coming from the people that surrounds him. It makes his heart become stone and made him promise himself to revenge. And then the last is the melodrama, is a sensational dramatic piece which with rather exaggerated characters and exciting events intended to appeal to emotion. So melodrama is a drama wherein every plot there's a bombastic. So when we say bombastic, it is the overacting or exaggerated action, or excessively sentimental rather than action. Okay, so by looking at the definition of melodrama, we can sense that it has contain an exaggerated plots and twists. So if we if we asked about melodrama in our Filipino literature, then we have the Budoy. So it was exaggerated by the role of Gerald Anderson as Budoy. So again, the four types of drama are tragedy, comedy, tragicomedy, and the melodrama. And now let's jump to the poetry. The poetry is defined as a literary work in which special intensity is given to the expression of feelings and ideas by the use of distinctive style and rhythm, poems collectively or as a genre of literature. So, someone asked me what is the difference between a poem and a poetry. And then I told her that they are related to each other. So, okay. A poem can be a rhymes or a free verse, expressing their emotions through writing, while poetry it is the use of words and language to emphasize the writer's feelings. So when you are writing a poem, then you are not just writing a poem but also a poetry. So if I'm not mistaken, Miss Santos had already Miss Santos discussed about the father of poetry, which who is Geoffrey Chaucer. And then if the drama have its elements, of course, the poetry also. So first we have the rhythm, meter, stanza, rhyme scheme, symbolism, imagery, and alliteration. So that's the elements of poetry and its definition. And let's keep it because it's already discussed in our last semester. So let's move to our poet for today, Alfred Edward Husman. So he was born on March 26, 1859 in Falkbury, Worcestershire, England. Okay? And Husman is an English poet and a classical scholar during his days. He is known for his simplicity of his form of language and the narrow range of his subject matter, and also the attitudes of traditional Stoicism. So when we say Stoicism, it is the endurance of pain or hardships or sufferings, so which his poems represents. So Husman was the eldest of the seven siblings. Therefore, he was the leader. So he entered St. John's College, Oxford in 1877, where he distinguished start, and despite apparent brilliance as classical scholar, he failed his honors degree. So when his mother died of cancer when he was at his 12 years old, um, it's it's very painful for him, and he felt loneliness and missed his mother so much that he cannot focus on his studies. So by the age of 13, he became a deist, or a belief that God, uh, the existence of God based on reasons rather than revelation. That's it. The death of his mother disturbed him so much, so he became atheist. Were lost um, when he was um, when he was 13. He became atheist, where he lost his belief in the existence of God. Then he gained his brilliance and became successful. So Husman had two successful careers. He was a popular poet and his country's greatest Latinist. So, excuse me. When he became successful with his countless success, he became arrogant. He even commented others' work as poor and even didn't reach his expectation. So that's how Husband become arrogant during his success. So Husband did not marry. Why? Because he is a gay. Though he fell in love at first and the only last time at Oxford, but um, they did not ended together. So his friendship or his special relation with Moses Jackson fall apart. So years after years had passed, but he never fall in love again. He remained single. Okay. Then his famous literary works are Loveliest of Trees, Cherished Now, To an Athlete Dying Young, When I Was 1 and 20, which we are going to critic later, and Tell Me Not Here, It Needs Not Saying, and last, Give Me a Land of Boughs in Leaves. So these are just the few of his literary works. There are still a lot that is not included in my presentation. So, When I Was 1 and 20 by Alfred Edward Huysman. It is iambic meter. So let's read. When I was 1 and 20, I heard a wise man say, give crowns and pounds and guineas, but not your heart away. Give pearls away and rubies, but keep your fancy free. But I was 1 and 20, no use to talk to me. When I was 1 and 20, I heard him say again, the heart out of the bosom was never given in vain. 'Tis paid with sighs aplenty, and sold for endless rue. And I am 2 and 20, and oh, 'tis true, 'tis true. So the rhyme scheme of the poem of this poetry, in the first stanza we have A B C B C D A D, which is 20 rhymes to 20, say rhymes to away, and guineas rhymes with rubies, and free rhymes with me. And the I persona here is a 21 years old boy who encountered a advice from an old man. So the second stanza, the rhymes are, the rhyme scheme is A B C B A D A D. So the first line 20 rhymes to the fifth line plenty, and the seventh line 20. So the second line again rhymes with the fourth line, in which in vain. The third line or the C has the rhyme with the sixth line rue, and rhymes to the last line true. So that is A B C B A D A D. So the theme of the poem is love, and the symbolisms are the heart. It symbolizes love, and then the crowns and pounds and guineas, along with the pearls away and rubies, are um, are the earthly possessions that are the earthly possessions or the material that a man can offer to his beloved. So the poem When I Was 1 and 20 is all about a 22 years old who met a wise man when he was 21. So perhaps the wise or the older one, the old man, had experience of falling in love when he was younger. But then he advised to the third persona that when falling in love, you can give crowns and pounds and guineas with pearls and rubies, or all materialistic um, things that you can offer, but not your heart. because it will hurt you or it can cause too much pain. So that's how the wise man advised to the speaker, but the speaker did not follow. Why? Because he disregard the advice. Maybe because the speaker thinks, who is this man talking this way? Why would he believed him? He's just a stranger. He's just an old man. So he maybe think that this wise man is just a random guy he met. Okay. So when the speaker reached at the age of 22 years old, he realized that, or he remembered the advice of the wise man a year ago is all true. So this time, the speaker now experienced heartbreak or love failure. So he is now regretful. So he realized that if he obeyed or if he followed the wise man's advice, then perhaps he will never feel the same way as the wise man said. Okay? So in short, the older man or the wise man advised that maintaining your emotional and mental health is uh, very important. So he hopes that those younger and younger younger generations will understand and usually must not they usually um, not follow the the bosom of the heart. So that's when I was 1 and 20. Next we have the aftermath of war. So we can say aftermath it is the next. Let's proceed to the aftermath of war. It is a poem um, written by Siegfried Lorraine Sassoon. So he was born on September 8, 1886 in Matfield, United Kingdom. So um, the aftermath of war is a poem, historical novel rather. It was basically written. It was basically written to express the World War I and the experiences of the experiences of horrible memories are also expressed or pointed in the poem. So in most poem of Sassoon, it contains deep meaning and important messages. So that's why in his aftermath, uh, he um, he has he attached his passionate expressions of horrors or uh, how he felt during the World War I. How pity to the young soldiers who sacrificed themselves during the World War I to protect their countrymen. So this poem is a free verse. So let's read. Have you forgotten yet? For the world's events have rumbled on since those gag days, like traffic checked while at the crossing of city ways, and the haunted gap in your mind has filled with thoughts that flow like clouds in the lit heaven of life, and you're a man reprieved to go, taking your peaceful share of time with joy to spare. But the past is just the same, and war's a bloody game. Have you forgotten yet? Look down and swear by the slain of the war that you'll never forget. Um, the poem is a perfect example of his work that conveys a very important message. So this stanza it talks about the war and the life and the memories of Sassoon. So of the soldiers rather. That's why Sassoon asked the reader a question. Have you forgotten yet? He wants the people or his readers to remember the past events, and he uses the three lines as a three dots. What do you call this one? Ellipsis. It it emphasized to I mean to recall the events. Okay. Then he continued, for the world's events have rumbled on since those gag days. So he described the gag days to like a traffic check while at the crossing of city ways. So the world's event he is referring here is the World War One. So like traffic check, we usually do is we stop, right? So he want to stop and think about what happened in that particular event. So same with the people in the war, they stop, and haunted gap in your mind has filled with thoughts that flow. So like clouds in the lit of heaven life, and you're a man reprieved to go. So when we say reprieved, it is to cancel or postpone. Okay. Why? Because like clouds in the lit of heavens of life, it is an example of a simile where war is described as like clouds in the lit of heavens life, and it can also be an example of oxymoron or a figure of speech that have an opposing concept. So because war is mainly talk about death, not life. Okay, and a death that reprieved you to go or to continue to life, because war is taking your peaceful share of time with joy to spare. So that's how a war cut you off from everything. Can be your life, your ambition, your purpose, everything. Because um, if you are dead already, then your purpose has ended too. But the past is just the same, and war's a bloody game. So this one is kind of ironic because when we speak of game, it must be enjoyable, but a bloody game involves life. So meaning there's no assurance that you will win the game. So um, it can be also a oxymoron again, because the concept here contradict each other. Okay, then um, again, have you forgotten yet? Look down and swear by the slain of the war you'll never forget. So the speaker here said that look down and promise those who sacrifice their lives that you will never forget them. Of course, we should not. Imagine they sacrifice themselves to save us, right? So, do you remember the dark months you held in the sector of Mamets? The nights you watched and ride with and piled sandbags on parapets. So the sector of Mamets is where the Germans was outnumbered and was captured by the British. So it is during the battle of German British War, or the Battle of Mamets. That's it. So do you remember the rats and the stench of corpses rotting in front of the frontline trench, and dawn coming, dirty white and chilled with a hopeless rain? Do you ever stop and ask, is it all going to happen again? In this stanza, the poem is more about the reality of war and the conditions or the situations, like in this line, do you remember the rats and the stench? Stench, it's a bad smell, or stinky, or something undesirable smell. That's it. That's a stench of corpses rotting in front of the frontline trench. So it describes how the soldiers had to live those kinds of awful conditions and see horrible things, because the stench of the stench of corpses rotting is an enjambment of the line to describe or to emphasize that the smell was really really that bad, or even worse, because it's not just a a bad smell, but this smell is described to the rotting of the human body, or the human corpses in front of the soldiers. So imagine if you are in that situation, I don't think you can survive, right? You see those rotting body in front of you, And then the dawn coming, dirty white, and chill with a hopeless rain. So Sassoon uses a pathetic fallacy, wherein pathetic fallacy is giving a human feelings to something non-human or giving only emotion. So um, pathetic fallacy is a form of figure of speech, but take to remember that pathetic fallacy and the personification is different, because personification is giving any human attribute to an object. So meaning it directly giving actions to non-human. While this pathetic fallacy is just giving only a feelings, which hopeless rain, right? So do you think a rain have feelings? Okay, that's the difference between the pathetic fallacy and the personification. And then it is all going to happen again. So the speaker here shows fear or worried. That is if this kind of events will happen again. But then the speaker got an answer real quick after, because after writing this poem, the World War II began. So that's how a war gets too much hope for the people. And then do you remember that hour of din before the attack? And the anger, the blind compassion that seized and shook you then, as you peered at the doomed and haggard faces at your men? So the author wants to remember the hour before the attack. You can see how the people was shocked and at the doomed and haggard faces can be seen not a safe situation for the military or for the soldiers, because it was written here with dying eyes, with lolling heads, meaning the soldiers are almost dying, are almost dead. So they have this they don't have the assurance to survive. So um and mass of lads who once were keen and kind and gay. So there is an idea of individual characteristic being stripped away due to the war. So the mask here, it represents death. And then um and the last line of the poem: look up and swear by the green of the spring that you'll never forget. So this shows that we should not forget about the past events. So this shows the frustration and anger of the soldiers and those family who terribly missed their loved ones, because um, as we could notice here, no, and there's the repetition between "Have you forgotten yet?" I think it was repeated 4 times. So there's a repetition because the author wants to emphasize how tragic or how horrible, and we should always remember to the people who sacrificed themselves during the World War I. So the author of the poem tells his experience and opinions that creates a sorrow atmosphere um, during the war. Okay, so the lesson that I learned in this poem is that I agree with the author. We should not forget the soldiers who died for us, those who protect us. That's why we annually celebrate the National Heroes Day to commemorate our heroes who fought during the Philippine Revolution. Yes, the Philippine Revolution. So without them, perhaps we are still under the Spanish colonization up to now. So what is the most a country could wish? Diba? As it was said in the Isaiah 66 verse 12, for thus saith the Lord, behold, I will extend peace to her like a river, and the glory of the Gentiles like a flowing stream. Then shall ye shall be borne upon her sides and be dandled upon her knees. So well, sometimes when when a war is necessary, so even the soldiers, every soldier's wish is to have a world peace, that represents like a river, and the glory of the nations is like the overflowing stream, or the overflowing grace. So um, all of us, soldiers or not, we also we all wish, um, we don't wish to have war. All we want to do is to live in abundance and in harmony. So that's the aftermath of war. So the I persona here is the author himself, Sassoon, who um, who wrote his experience and expressions during his um, encounter of the World War One. So hope you have lesson, you get some lesson for the video for today. So thanks for watching.